Hello. I thought I'd do a video on one of the more common things that people look for with regard to dividends, and just how useful Chartsmart can be in looking for the stocks that you feel that are appropriate for you with regard to dividends and dividend growth. So one of the neat things about Chartsmart is it has the fundamentals plotted on the chart, and that's up here. If you go to indicators and fundamentals, I have this on, and you can see you can display these lines on the bottom that are colored in different. You can actually select from quite a few different ones that are available. And currently you can see EPS, dividend, cash, operating revenue, and PE ratio are selected, and you can even change the colors and do all kinds of stuff. So and this line here is a MACD line, but we're going to be looking at the dividends. Now you can see in the blue on the right it says DIV, so the blue line is in the dividend. Okay, and so this is a chart of ABX, American Barrick or Barrick Gold Corporation, and you can see how they've been increasing their dividend, the blue line, and they just recently had an increase because you can see the way the blue dividend line ticked up. And let's just take a look at another couple. I'll look at, I don't know if IBM pays a dividend, but they probably do. There you go. And you can see how it went up a lot in the 4 or 5 years ago, but then it's kind of tapered off and leveled out. And you can always refer to the dividend by clicking on the PD5 button here, and you can look at the dividends per share right here. Okay, you can see how it's been about 650, and it did go up, so they sort of slowed down paying their dividends. So that's the neat thing about the chart or the line on the bottom. You can actually see the trend in the dividend over the last number of years. Now we'll look more into screening now. So obviously if you're looking for companies that pay dividends and have fundamentals, they're not going to be ETFs, because that's not something that's part of ETFs. So in Chartsmart, we're first going to make a filtered list. So we'll go into the filter menu, and we'll go to where we make our own list, which is changed by going here, and we just ignore the top 3, which are samples that we give, and we'll just take this here, which is personal group of filter sets 1, and we'll make a filter set, and we'll just say we'll add a new set, and we'll call dividend stocks. Okay, dividend companies. Okay, so now we have to choose the exchanges, and let's say we're looking at bigger companies, but we're also looking at the US, so we'll go Toronto, New York, and NASDAQ, and sure, we'll include Amex. Okay, so if we just run a screen on these in their entirety, I'm not sure if we have the ETFs excluded or not, and I can check on that because there's a feature up here under display, and we go to miscellaneous display settings, and you see this number 16. If this is checked, then all the ETFs are excluded. So what we're going to do is go back here and run this screen and just see how many there are including ETFs. Okay, so there's 16,000 companies in the database. We've screened out these 4 exchanges, every stock and ETF in them, and you can see we get 12,570. Now what if we exclude the ETFs? So let's go back here to display, and here, and we'll turn this on, and we will rerun the screen. Okay, and I'm guessing it's going to be more like 8,000. Okay, 9,000. So you can see a lot of ETFs, over 3,000 it looks like, since it was 12,500. We're a part of those 4 exchanges. Now, if we're going to look at stocks with dividends and scroll through them and look at them and look at those fundamental charts and stuff, we really don't need the ETFs in there. So that's why I had to show you that feature first. So now we've got 9,000 companies that may or may not pay dividends. So we'll go in here And let's go in to the fundamentals, and we will go to dividend yield, and let's say that we want, we'll click the checkbox, and we will specify that we want a yield of at least 3%. Okay, so we'll put that in here. Okay, that's the dividend yield. Okay, that's the dividend as a percentage of the share price, which you can see in the formula, the dividend divided by the last price times 100. So let's go through here and screen them out. So we had 9,200, I think. Let's see what we get. So we're down to 1,500, you can see on the top now. And we'll just start right now and just go close and go to group, and we'll begin scrolling through some of these. And remember, they're mixed between the Canadian and US. So there's our first one, and you can see the little blue line down here. Okay, and I'll do a few more. We'll just watch the blue line, and you can see this one, Advanced Auto Parts. They actually started raising their dividend in the last 2 years. And if you look in the upper left here, I have the dividend yield, which is 3.47%, and that's been customized to be in this area. You actually could customize it if you were just looking at dividends. I'm not sure if I can put the formula in here, but we could put a formula in under display custom formula, and I think I'm just going to try to do this dividend yield, and then I'm going to type in the formula. I think we'll go something similar to that formula I showed you there before, which was I think the variable for dividend is div, and if we divide that by the last price and multiply it by 100. Okay, let's see what we get when we do that. Okay, so I'll close and refresh the chart, and there you can see it's a little bit different. That one says 3.47 on the top, and this says 3.468 because we've calculated it and rounded it off, or not rounded it off. But you can see that you can get it to display a little bit bigger there. Okay, so if I'm going forward, which I am, you can see how and it moves above or below, depending on where there's the most space. Okay, I'll do one more, and so you can see it's in the top left. So we'll leave that there for now, since that's kind of what we're looking at. Now, okay, this is great. Let's make a watch list. Okay, and we have only one watch list here right now. Let's make a watch list so that we can pick out the ones that we like as we scroll. So dividend stocks I like. Okay, so there's nothing in there now, and that's the last watch list that we looked at. So let's go. I'm going to go back here a bit, and we're back at this one here, and for whatever reason you might have certain things that you like. You might want to say that their earnings are growing as well, and we could do that, but we're not going to get into the growth. We're just going to look at a few here so you can see the blue line, and you see how it went down low there, and then they're starting to pay again. And we can look at the PD5 and just see what happened in 2021. You can see the dividends went down quite a bit, and so all of these are going to pay over 3%. Okay, this one's quite high, 9%. I guess they have quite a big dividend, 1.5 per share. So this is a realty trust, so that's one of the reasons. And in Chartsmart you can screen out or include or exclude those types of things. So that's that part of it. Now let's go into more detail in the screening. Okay, we'll go into here, and we'll go to the fundamentals, and what we can also do is we could also specify that their earnings have been going up in the last 3 years, or even the dividend is up each year in the last 2 or 3 years. So let's go and say we want the dividend up each year in the last 3 years. So you can see the variables, the div year 1, div year 2, div year 3, and that's the formula. And we'll run this, and of course we're going to get a lot fewer companies because these ones have their dividends continually growing. Okay, so let's go through here, and if you look at that blue line, you'll see that in each year it has increased. Okay, now that's in the last 2 or 3 years. That's why this one's down here. Okay, there we go. And this one just must have come off recently. But generally speaking, these are all going up in the last 3 years. Okay. Now, but let's go further. You could also specify something about their. You could actually go into their financials and specify that maybe they have more assets than liabilities. You might have to do that under the Use Specify tab, but there might be other fundamentals that you're interested in. Let's just look at the balance sheet. Here what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to specify, for example, that we also want the revenue to be up each year in the last 3 years, and that's the black line. Okay. Whoop, I didn't run the screen. So this is going to bring the 500 down a lot more, down to 300. So now we've got a list of something we like. And of course, you could have combined this with any technical indicators, MACD crossovers, price ranges, volume breakouts, a custom formula that you created, maybe that you want the assets to be greater than the liabilities, whatever it may be. You've got your formula, and then you can begin scrolling. So we'll go through here, and we've made our watch list, and let's say, oh, okay, well, I like this one. This is paying 3.47%, and also the price has come down a fair bit, and you also, for example, could say that the PE ratio is a certain amount. So why don't we do that and tighten up the group a bit? So we'll go in here and say we want the PE to be maybe under 20. So we'll go to the fundamentals again, and we'll go the PE is less than or equal to, and we'll just say 20. Okay, so that'll probably reduce our list a bit more. And let's see what we get. We're down to 232. Okay, so we'll close and go to group and begin scrolling, and here we have our first one, and it just happens to be that one. And we can see on the far left there's the PE, 18.4. They've got a dividend yield of 3.47%. And what we could do if we like that, we could go to our watch list and just say, okay, well, I'm going to add that chart. Okay, and then we could press the forward button or the F button, or we could click forward, either way, and we go through here, and you can see the magenta line on the bottom, and that's the PE. Okay, you can see here the PE is very low, and they just raised the dividend on this one. So let's say, oh, I'd like to look at that one later, so I'll do some research on that and add that chart. Okay, so what we're doing is going through those 232 companies, and if you look at the very top of the screen, you could see we're on 5 of 232, which is 2.2%. And this one looks pretty consistent. The revenue, the black line's going up. The PE is pretty low. Earnings are pretty steady going up. The dividend is pretty steady. It's sort of slowed down a bit. So let's add that one too. Okay, and then you've got your list you're collecting, and you can do more research on these later. Okay, here's a stock that's come down from its $28 high, and it's got an increase in revenue. You can see the black line in the last 2 years has gone up significantly, whereas the earnings haven't changed a lot. They've actually gone down, but they've raised the dividend. So you can see how quickly you can evaluate with that fundamentals line, and how that can be used with revenue or dividends or whatever. And this is a really powerful feature in Chartsmart. It really gives you a sense of control over things. So let's go to PD5 and just see what happened to the dividend there. You can see it was like 0.8, 0.9, and then it went up to 2. And you can also see the revenue, how you see how it was like, let's see, this is 1.6 million, or this might be, with that M there, it might be billion. But you can see how it's been going up right here in the last 2 years, right? We can look at quarterly, and let's take a look at that, and you can see how it's actually been going up a fair bit quarterly. So interesting. Okay, so we'll go through here for a few more. Here's another one. You can see the dividend, the blue line's been going up. The PE ratio has been dropping significantly, and that's because the earnings, look at the red line, how it's been going up. So you can really see with Chartsmart, I can't imagine another tool that will allow you so simply to go through and get a picture of what's going on with a company so quickly. And of course, if you want to take and go into more detail, you can hook onto the web with this globe, and you can get your stock quote, you can get a company profile. For example, Algoma Central, we could click on here and go to Yahoo, and it'll bring up the company, and it'll give up a whole bunch of information about where it is, who's involved, and a detailed description of it. So we'll close this, and so even though I mentioned this is for dividends, it's really also partly for that fundamentals, those fundamental lines on the bottom, because they're so helpful. And if you want to look at the quarterly values, you can just click the info button, and you can see we get a nice summary of all the different possible fields. And these are the fields that you have options to draw up to 5 lines. And as you know, we're doing operating revenue, EPS, dividends, cash, and the PE ratio, which is at the end, I think, somewhere here. There it is. So these are quarterly values, and they're just numbers. You can see, for example, this is the total shares out and how it changed each quarter. Okay, so pretty powerful stuff, and interesting, and really it's just meant to be able to make it so you can specify exactly what you want, and then collect them into a list. And of course, once you have your watch list, you can click here and you can go view charts, and then you can look through the stocks that you selected and do more, pick up, add new ones, take some away, whatever you want to do. Okay, so that's the end of the video. Thank you.